Good evening. Thank you for coming out. It's still 70 degrees out. I was sure it was. My name is Evelyn Ellis. I'm a member of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Committee. I'm also the Vice President of Institutional Diversity and Equity here at Dartmouth. It is a pleasure that I get to open this evening of celebration, of reflection, and growth for us all. But before we start that, I want to thank, and I want you to help me thank, the Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Committee. They're scattered throughout the audience. If you could help me thank them for all the incredible work that they do. We always open this celebration with a student speaker, a student leader. And this year, our student speaker is Chinedum Nwaigwe. She's originally from Newark, New Jersey, and she's the daughter of Nigerian immigrants. Chinedum is a senior at Dartmouth, majoring in film and media studies and African American studies. She holds a variety of student leadership positions on campus, including president of the Afro-American Society and vice president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Xi Lambda Chapter. As a filmmaker and storyteller, it is her goal to center the Black experience in her work and show Black people just how multidimensional we are. Please welcome her to the podium.
Thank you all for coming out to this evening's celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And thank you to Evelyn Ellis and the Office of Institutional Diversity and Equity for inviting me to deliver these opening remarks. I am Chinedum Nwaigwe, and it is an honor to be here with you this evening. 4 years ago, during my freshman winter, I sat in these seats listening to Christina Williams, a former senior, speak about Dartmouth's failure to better the lives of its students of color, women, lower class, and queer community. This morning, anticipating the moment I would be called to give the same speech, I called K-Will, my friend, sister, and mentor, to tell her that the Dartmouth she had spoken so bravely about 4 years ago is still the same, if not worse. I told her that the administration she called out 4 years ago for failing to protect women in fraternity basements is the same administration facing a $70 million lawsuit for looking the other way when women in the psychological and brain sciences department came forward about their professors' rampant sexual abuse. If in 4 years I cannot pinpoint a single instance of meaningful progress at Dartmouth, how then can I celebrate 250 years of its existence? Much like my Native and African American peers who do not have the privilege of looking back nostalgically at the past, I cannot bring myself to celebrate Dartmouth's 250th anniversary. The Abenaki, the tribe whose land Dartmouth is built on, will not let me, and Brister, Exeter, Chloe, Caesar, Lavinia, Archelaus, Peggy, and the enslaved child on whose Black bodies this college was built would anguish at the sight of such dishonesty. In preparing for this year's keynote address, I repeated the theme of this year's commemoration, Standing at the Threshold, hoping that it would inspire some powerful message to share with you all, but all I could think about was how long we have been standing at this threshold, standing on the cusp of something new. I stand before you today to affirm that it is not enough to stand at the threshold of greatness and willingly choose to remain there with no sign of forward progression. It is about time that we tip the scales and seize this moment of change. Thank you. Black people's experiences at Dartmouth and beyond are too often shaped by our need to survive. In fact, Dartmouth first introduced me to the concept of a survivor. I remember April 14th, 2016 as clear as day. It was 9 p.m. and I was heading back to my dorm in the Chotes when I received an alert from the Women of Color Collective reminding people that they were hosting a forum for survivors at the Center for Gender and Student Engagement, known by most as the CGSE. I had assumed this was going to be an inspirational talk hosted by upperclassmen who had persevered at Dartmouth despite obstacles. It was that for the most part, but the obstacles survived in this case were not the obstacles of poverty, fear, or self-doubt that most college students experience. That night, the common obstacle was the rape and sexual assault that women of color had experienced on this very campus. That night, I sat in a circle with all of the women of color I admired as they each took turns sharing how they survived assault on this campus. Ever since then, the term survivor has been repeated over and over and over again like a mantra. And this is just one facet of survival in an ecosystem and legacy built on pain. Over the course of 4 years, we have had to give up several things in order to survive on this campus. In the name of a Dartmouth degree, we have relinquished the study of our own histories as our ethnic studies department ceased to exist. In the name of a Dartmouth degree, we have given up learning from people who look like us as they flee to more supportive institutions. In the name of a Dartmouth degree, we have lost our sense of collectivity in that so much of Dartmouth is built on the success of the individual. In the name of a Dartmouth degree, we have given up friendships formed through joy in favor of bonds formed through struggle. In the name of a Dartmouth degree, we have given up our mental health with no chance of recovery due to understaffing at centers like Opal, Collis, and Dick's House. In the name of a Dartmouth degree, we have given up our safety as women's residences have been attacked with impunity as recently as the spring of 2017. In the name of a Dartmouth degree, we have given up maintaining our relationships with home, afraid that our families will know how we suffer. Survival is still not enough. King himself did not survive. There will always be those who sacrifice, but it is those who stand in inaction that keep survivors at the threshold, waiting for that moment of change. The time is up. Black women, women of color, poor people, queer and trans people deserve more than survival. Survival is just living on the edge. It does nothing for liberation. As I reflect on the enduring legacy of Dr. King, I am reminded of how he envisioned a life beyond survival, one that included safety, voting rights, financial freedom, and individual liberty. He was willing to take unpopular stances and go to great lengths to hold his political leaders and friends accountable. For those who stand inactive and force survival as a mode of existence, afraid to put themselves on the line, let us remember the address that Dr. King gave at Spelman College in April of 1960. Keep moving, for it may well be that the greatest song has not yet been sung, the greatest book has not been written, the highest mountain has not been climbed. Life for none of us has been a crystal stair, but we must keep moving. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving. At this 250th year mark, we are stuck at the threshold between human compassion and indifference. While many of us struggle to push beyond survival, we carry the weight of those who remain stagnant, attempting to drag our peers and communities to freedom. So, the only question I have today is, will you stand or will you move? Thank you, and please welcome Evelyn Ellis back to the stage.
These are not normal times. These are not normal circumstances. These are not normal political actions that we are witnessing on a daily basis. I start our 2019 celebration by reminding us all that this country is possibly in the worst state of repair that we have seen for a while, and definitely worse state than when I talked to you in January of 2018. I wish I had better news, but better a truth we can challenge and aggressively respond to than a lie that encourages us to put our heads under the sand when the waves of hostility wash away every ounce of integrity, courage, and moral responsibility this nation has ever had. If you never had any intention of joining the call to action to reverse the direction of your country, now might be the time to develop focus, intention, and internal fortitude. I fear imagining where we will be next year if we do not make our voices heard and our actions reflective of our voices. It is possible that we are more divided as a country now than we were during this American Civil War. As bad as that war was, at least there was some sense of purpose, even though the purpose was misguided. My opinion of those times always left me thinking that the warring parties felt that they were protecting something beyond the capitalism of slavery, the privileged lifestyles of plantation owners and Northerners who benefited from those plantations. While we can look back now and see all the errors in their logic, not even to mention the moral conflicts with human bondage, somehow the accepted hate manifesting itself today avoids any connection to conviction, to anything beyond capitalism and hate. My words might sound harsh to you, but honesty rarely is covered with sweet sentiments that leave us feeling comfortable. We have gathered to relight candles of hope in you and your family, your community, and in our nation. Lighting candles at this time means voting for people you know have some sense of commitment to all living beings. Vote with your dollar. Avoid companies that contribute to modern slavery and servitude. Vote with your feet. Avoiding places in this country that do more to harm humans than help them, and vote with your voice. Open your mouth when you witness things that are wrong, even if you might lose a friend, might lose the support of your colleagues, you might even lose your job. However you choose to vote, do it now. In our case, waiting until tomorrow is having unrepairable damage on the lives of millions of people across the country and across the world, and damage on this planet we live on. But right now, we're definitely standing at a threshold. Tonight, we're going to do some critical thinking. We're going to do some healing, and we're going to laugh. And we brought just the right person to take us on that journey. Franchesca Ramsey is a social justice advocate, a comedian, an actress, a writer, a video blogger. She's a sought-after speaker and the host of the award-winning MTV series Decoded. She has been featured on NPR, Anderson Live, CNN, the BBC. She's been in the New York Times. A former writer and a correspondent for Comedy Central's The Nightly Show with Larry Whitmore. She has also written for BET's Black Girls Rock, the award show, and she's currently has multiple television projects in development. Her first book, well, that escalated quickly, was published last year. Please help me welcome Franchesca Ramsey.
I like to talk about social issues in different creative ways that can hopefully reach lots of people. And while this is an animated video about a caterpillar and a snail, it's also a video about privilege. And privilege is that word that people get really uncomfortable the minute that you say it. And I like to use this illustration because it says, look, we all have privilege. Every single one of us. They're all different. And we have to actually acknowledge those privileges in order to be sympathetic to the experiences of others. So for example, I am an able-bodied person. That means I can probably use any restroom on this campus without any problem. It is not my fault that there are not maybe accessible bathrooms on campus, but in order to be sensitive to the fact that we need more accessibility on campus, I have to say, you know what, that's not something I actually think about in my daily life because I'm an able-bodied person. So this is the way that I try to introduce those topics throughout my content.
I think Dartmouth is a place where a lot of people come from privileged backgrounds, and so for people at this school that are sitting in this audience that have sort of taken off the blinders, how do you think those people should positively change the way they interact with the world to sort of positively influence their new understanding?
Yeah, there's an analogy that I use in my book and in my work a lot about allyship. And the analogy is that I think allyship is a lot like Destiny's Child. There's only one Beyonce. And I think that allyship means sometimes you gotta step back and you have to let somebody else have the mic. And I think that when you are ready to acknowledge your privilege and realize that you want to be somebody that's an agent of change, you have to also realize that you can't center your voice all of the time. And I think, unfortunately, that happens across all identities, where you have people who are like, I'll tell you what it's like for the gays. And you're just like, you're not gay, shut up. Move out of the way and let somebody else talk about their own experience. And I think we just need to do more of that. And I think especially when you're on a college campus where you are exposed to so many different identities, there are so many different groups and organizations that you can either partner with or you can become a member of, or even reaching out to their leadership and saying, what is it that you need? How is it that I can support you? Rather than barging in and saying, I'm here to help, asking, what is it that you need? Especially because there are spaces that you have access to that I don't. And I think, especially when it comes to having those difficult conversations, I think it's really easy to have them on campus in the safety of, more liberal spaces. It's a lot harder to have those conversations at home. And I think that oftentimes it's very easy, especially because of social media, to have this very performative allyship where you can change your Facebook profile picture and you can share all these articles, and it's like, okay. Or the thing that really bothered me after the election were people making these broad Facebook posts that were like, if you voted for Trump, I want to tell, I'm like, you know who it was. Like, why are you writing this vague Facebook post? Like, talk to them, right? Like, there's a lot of work that needs to be done that no one is going to actually see you do, and no one is going to be there to congratulate you or thank you for. And I think you have to be willing to do that work behind closed doors and be okay with not getting a cookie for that work. You have to be willing to bake your own cookies, and they could be whatever kind of cookie you want. So yeah, I think not centering yourself, having those difficult conversations, and uplifting the voices of people that don't normally get a chance to have the spotlight or have the mic.